bitch, a ribbon poker toe. We invented the cherry tomato and Waze USB drives and the Iron Dome. Israeli salad, Uzi Stenton, Jaffa's orange crow. Microchips is us, iPhone cameras us, taco salads us, Bodega knows us, Olive Garden us, White Cloth for us, Sabra Hamas, Hasbara sus.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bad Hasbara,
the world's most moral and, shall we say, finally, complete podcast.
That's
it's been a while,
right.
But everything is back in order.
We're back, baby. Everything is normal again. Finally, all the birdies have come back to the nest in order to eat the regurgitated worm meat from their mother. Their mother being the homeland Israel. Mother Israel is regurgitating a bunch of food into our gullets, and we're going to swallow it down. My name's Matt Lieb. I am the world's most moral co-host.
I'm Daniel Mate, the other world's most moral co-host.
And we are so stoked to be back with all of y'all today. We have a hell of an episode, a few things to get through right up top. You know how it is. We got to take care of business. Shout out producer Adam Levin. He's out here. He's doing stuff. You don't even fucking know what he's doing behind the scenes. You don't even fucking know. Subscribe on YouTube and all the podcast apps. Do that. That's important. If you are new to this podcast, you can subscribe right now. If you're on Spotify, do that. If you're on YouTube, do that.
You can and you should.
You can, you should, and you will. You will. Also, patreon.com/badhasbara. Please join the Patreon. You can get a bonus episode every week. New content only for the pay pigs. Oink, oink, motherfucker. It's time to lap up the slop. That's what I say.
Wow, that was an aggressive pitch.
I'm sorry. I figured you'll like that. But our listeners like when we do that.
I just realized my camera was mirrored. I just flipped myself back to...
Oh, thank God. I thought something was off.
Yeah, I was...
It was like you've moved everything.
Yeah.
Also, before I forget, 2 stand-up dates that are happening right now. March 16th, 7 p.m., I'm going to be at the Sacramento Punchline in Sacramento, as it says in the title of the club. So
Be
please...
weird if the Sacramento Punchline was in, like, Taos, New Mexico.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it is in Sacramento as it's advertised. So please come to the Sacramento Punchline. You'll see me and my wife, Francesca Fiorentini, March 16th at 7 p.m. Also, if you want to see my wife and we're also going to be at the Ice House in Pasadena this Wednesday, February 19th. I think this episode might come out before this date. So yeah, fucking come and see Francesca Fiorentini and some other great comics like Gareth Reynolds from The Dollop. He's going to be there. A bunch of other like really funny people. We're doing a show at the Ice House. Come out. Our sponsor today is Gaza Great Minds. Gaza Great Minds provides safe tent classrooms and quality education to Gaza's children affected by war, as well as psychological support. You can donate to them, and you should right now. GazaGreatMinds.org. That's GazaGreatminds.org. Do it now.
Do you ever get tired of doing these ad reads? Do you ever wish I would pitch in once every now and then and describe one of our sponsors?
I have actually never thought about that before, but now that you mention it, that would be sick.
Yeah.
You should do that.
I'll think about it.
I mean, I'm finally kind of getting good at reading them.
You are really good, actually.
I didn't even have to take a break during that. I didn't have to, there was not a moment in which I started breaking out in a cold sweat due to having to read aloud.
No, and I actually believed that you believed in it, which was shocking.
I do believe. I believe. We all believe. But yes, next time you read it. Daniel, what's the spin?
Well, Matt, the spin has been suspended today. We have something else. Well, no spin today. No spin. We're not spinning anything. We need to unspin something, actually, you and me.
Oh, shit.
So will you meet me in the break room, please?
Okay.
The Bad Hasbara break room.
All right, let's go.
All right.
Whoa.
Welcome, Matt. Matthew L.
Yes, hi.
All right. As a fellow...
Mr. Mate.
as a fellow Severance fan, I feel you may have some sense of what's happening here. We just have something we need you to clear up for the listeners. So
Sure.
I've forwarded it to you. If you would call up the document in question.
Okay. You got it. Oh.
And we're just going to have you really, speaking of really believing in your words, really, really being sincere, we're going to have you really deliver. There's just a message that I think you want to tell the people.
Oh, sure. Okay.
So I'd like you to read this as if you wrote it, because in your heart you did.
Okay. Let's see. I, Matthew L., have knowingly fibbed and confabulated about Daniel Mate's neither parts.
Neither.
And
No. Nether.
Nether. Oh.
Nether,
I,
like my nether regions, you know.
I'm breaking out in sweat.
Why don't you start again, Matt? It's okay.
Okay.
Just take.
I, Matthew L., have knowingly fibbed and confabulated about Daniel Mate's nether parts.
Yeah.
And only in me will the stain of those outlandish fictions live on. Rather than face my vulnerable emotions around abandonment, emotions triggered by my most moral co-host's sudden yet authorized absence, I reverted to the Ashkenazi comedian's first and only resort, sexual perversion offered up as light entertainment. My Baroque tale of another man's penile detachment and rectal perforation was, in truth, a displacement of my own ancestral wounds. Possibly Holocaust trauma.
Matt, would you like to start that sentence again with a little less mirth?
I'm sorry, no mirth. The Baroque tale of another man's penile detachment and rectal perforation was, in truth, a displacement of my own ancestral wounds, possibly Holocaust trauma. In suggesting that Daniel's genital provinces are in anything but exemplary working and full shining integrity, I deceived our most moral listeners, yes. But most importantly, I lied to myself. All I can be is sorry, and that is all I am.
Well,
I'm afraid you don't mean it.
I'm just glad you said it once.
I am sorry. All I can be is sorry. Daniel's penis and anus are fine. I was just trying to think of a reason why he would miss this wonderful podcast, and I didn't want to reveal his secret location, which was that he was on vacation with his beautiful, beautiful girlfriend.
Did you know that people would be DMing me asking how my penis and anus are? Did you think about what that would be like for me?
I forget people listen to this shit. Half the time I'm doing this, I'm just like, oh, this is for a Facebook group I joined in 2015.
Yeah.
And now I've started realizing that people listen, and I probably shouldn't always revert to, the Ashkenazi comedian's lowest hanging fruit, sexual perversion. I would read it again, but this is too big of an episode. We have a big, exciting guest, a tall man, a strong man, a good man. I have actually his bio right here. Luckily, the internet was really good at giving me a bio to read about our next guest. So I'll just take it straight from the horse's mouth. Let's see. Our next guest defended Hamas terrorists after the 10/7 massacre.
Brave.
Denied documented atrocities, including mass and murder, profits while violating Twitch's own community guidelines, and uses his massive platform to amplify anti-Semitic propaganda. He is the one of the 10 nominees for StopAntiSemitism.com's Anti-Semite of the Year award. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone else, welcome finally to the pod, Hasan Piker.
I cannot believe that you would start off with one of my biggest L's of 2020.
You didn't win?
No, I lost.
In the clutch, he didn't come through.
I lost to Candace Owens.
Owens.
You just had to hit me right where it hurts.
You know what's fucked up about that too is that's just DEI.
For serious.
That's what I'm saying.
They just did DEI. They were like, listen, we've been getting a lot of flack for not enough black representation in our Anti-Semite of the Year category. We need to do it. And so, yeah.
It also just goes to show, like, craft is just really not appreciated anymore. Like, anyone can do the anti-Semitism she does.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You come out, you start like scratching your chin about the Talmud.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Whoa, why Jews wear the hat? What's underneath it? Is it a gun
Yeah.
to kill
just-
Christians?
that's
Whatever
just easy.
they say.
But yours, which is conveyed telepathically
Mm.
and subliminally,
Yes.
and subcutaneously through nothing that you actually say, but just clearly your vibes,
Yes.
is an art, man.
No, it's
and
it's always
we take
it's-
our skull caps off to you.
I'm trying to play anti-Semitism on like extreme difficulty by like consistently talking about, you know, anti-Semitic dog whistles, things of that nature,
Yeah.
so that people are more aware of it. And then, you know, that's how I get my rocks off, because
Yeah.
I'm secretly anti-Semitic, and it's much better for me when everyone else is like woke about that sort of stuff.
Yes, exactly. It's
harder.
It's kind of like a great comedian always finds the line and then like is able to kind of like, you know, push a little bit over it. A great anti-Semite is able to say literally nothing anti-Semitic ever, and in fact do work towards combating anti-Semitism, and
Yeah.
yet still, you know, just whip up pogroms wherever he goes.
Yeah, it's just
genius.
for
really.
for stop anti-Semitism. I think is like really hard. This year was really hard because like I think she obviously you know, has a lot of Islamophobic opinions.
Yes.
This crazy woman. It's just also one crazy Long Island lady. Like that's
Yeah.
what's so wild about it. Like it looks like a serious organization that you know, tweets like a psychopath, but
Yeah.
it's just like one insane suburban housewife from Long Island who has just created this like mass doxing operation.
I know.
Um,
It is wild that like she invented her own libs of TikTok, and it's just for very specifically just for finding whoever, usually it's whoever the most vulnerable person is, like a college student or like
Yeah.
somebody who works a 9-to-5 job at a corporate office, who said something like, hey, I'm thinking of wearing a keffiyeh today. And then
Yeah.
just it's wild, and people think it's a real organization because she was able to get the domain name and she didn't even really get it. She got a .org.
Yeah. But
And
that
they-
makes it more legit because it's an
I guess-
organization. That's more legitimate.
Yeah, Democracy Now! Is an org, right? I mean,
That's
Yeah.
true.
So there's that, but also like she has conflicting values, obviously. Like she does not care about anti-Semitism, obviously, but like
Yeah.
she's also, it's always like two competing interests on her mind where she's like, well, I do hate black people.
Yeah, that's
And I do also hate that, well, this one's Muslim.
yeah.
And so it was probably a tough choice
It
for
was
her
probably
this year.
tough. It had to
Yeah.
be hard. In fact,
Like it must have been really hard because she did actually go with a real anti-Semite.
yeah, I
'Cause,
know.
like
Yeah.
she didn't just go with like someone who is you know, simply just anti-Israel.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, it was almost like like credit where credit is due. You know, of the year, I don't know, but definitely an anti-Semite of the year, Candace Owens. I mean,
Yeah.
she wasn't wrong about like two of the choices. It was like Dan
Yeah.
Blitzerian
Yeah.
and Candace Owens, but the rest of it was just
Yeah.
like you and fucking
Greta
Greta
Thunberg,
Thunberg. Like,
which was crazy.
was
That's
was
that's
Francesca
wild.
Albanese on the list?
probably. I don't know.
I think they had like a Instagram infographic account that just simply says like "Don't kill children." Like they're like, "This is the most anti-Semitic thing you've ever said."
I'm gonna find you and kill you for saying
Yeah.
that.
And then the other one was a Bassem Youssef, I think.
Yeah. Boston
Yeah.
was on there. Yeah, and
Some of
yeah,
the
he was
top
also-
anti-Semites.
He was also heartbroken. And yeah, it's nice to know. And I think now we've had 2 of the 10 anti-Semites of the year 2024 on this podcast. We're hoping for Greta, and we're hoping for whichever, you know.
I
we're
don't think
hoping
Candace
for-
would come
we're
on
hoping
here
for
because you
Candace.
are Jewish. Like, I feel like she would literally be like, "No, I'm not going into this hostile territory.
Dude,
You're gonna do mind powers to her."
I would love it. I would.
Yeah.
Hasan, you first of all, thank you for coming on this podcast. Long
course.
time coming. People have been demanding it. People have been yelling at me as if you not coming on was like a choice.
No, it was literally everybody watching right now. Don't let Matt lie to you. It was because of Matt.
I just wasn't sure if, first of all, you're Turkish, am I right?
Yeah, he was like runner-up for Anti-Semite of the Year. I don't want that fucking piece of shit. Number one only.
Yeah, I only want the winners on. You know? And yeah, no, it was interesting seeing the amount of like people who were like, dude, this is getting ridiculous. When are you gonna have Hasan on? As if we are in the same house and we're just roommates avoiding each other. Yeah. What is your experience? You're a streamer, you do streams. What is your relationship with the chat? Is it are they like how parasocial does it get for you?
Oof,
because if they're parasocial for me, and I'm just someone who exists. Like, what is that like for you?
Oh, it gets real. It gets very parasocial for sure, and oftentimes it's also antagonistic as well. So they yell at me all the time as well.
Yeah,
like why aren't you going on Bad Hasbara? Which is, to be fair, more apt. It's appropriate for them to yell at me over it, if we're going to be honest, because I've been saying I was going to come on for like a year and a half now.
Yeah.
So.
But no, it was serendipitous. We were able to make the timing work out. You are someone who streams a lot, which I'm going to be honest with you. I don't watch streams. I watch clippies of streams. Mm-hmm. So I've seen many of your clips, and one of the reasons, obviously, that I was excited to have you on is because you've also been an incredibly vocal supporter of Palestine, not just post October 7th, but long before that. And I feel like you actually have a lot in common with Palestinians in a lot of different ways, except for you have one thing over them, which is that, while Palestinians they've been threatened with like nuclear, annihilation. Mm-hmm. You actually have been nuked by a Zionist. And his name is Ethan. That is a picture he took of
you're when the first person in history, the first human being to be personally nuked.
Yeah. It's crazy the amount of institutions that go after you. And I think this is the difference between you and some of our other guests. I mean, we obviously have had guests who have been attacked by, stopantisemitism.org. I mean, anyone can, or Canary Mission. But it seems like the ADL going after you, that's when I was like, damn, they, this is like, they're really trying to take down Hasan. And I have noticed that one of the things that seems to create haters for Hasan is your ability to remain cogent in conversation about things you believe in. And I'm wondering is like, how much of it is personal?
I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how much of it is like envy or whatever.
Right.
And I think, I mean, I've talked about this before, but I think a big part of it is quite literally that as content creators, we're all pretty narcissistic. Mm-hmm. And that as narcissistic people, myself included, I think it's hard sometimes to assume responsibility for your own actions.
Sure.
Especially when there's like a pretty layered, pretty heavy amount of social conditioning on a particular geopolitical matter,
right?
That you're associated with personally, that creates this interesting feedback for you that you did not foresee you would get. Mm-hmm. So instead of maybe reanalyzing your statements and why people are saying, hey, this is kind of weird, you sound like someone who is defending Israel, maybe you should reconsider your stance here. Oftentimes a lot of people, I think, have a tendency to double down and be like, no, it's other people's nascent anti-Semitism that I'm going to unearth that is responsible for why people think I'm a Zionist, and not because I said Jewish Voice for Peace or capos or whatever, you know, or say stuff like, oh, are you a sex worker? Hamas would throw you off of a building in a heartbeat, which is like, okay, at that point, you're like, what are you, Dick Cheney? You know what I mean? That's like shit that people used to say for the entirety of the war on terror, you know?
Right.
Liberals and also Republicans alike. So, of course, if you have cultivated a progressive community, they're going to be like, we've heard this before, but not from you, but from others with like right-wing positions.
Right. Well, I heard this on
I heard
Fox
them all at
News
the Democratic. I heard them all at the Democratic National Convention this year.
Right. Or I heard about it on Fox in 2006. Like that's, I think, the big surprise. I think, at least for me, has been people's people kind of regurgitating war on terror era level shit, where you're just like, this is Hasbara that we use to justify going into Iraq and doing the entire war on terror. How are we just trying to we're trying to shine that turd again and make that, you know, new Hasbara for 2025?
Because it worked back then, and it's not like people ever learned the fundamental lessons of these things. They just remember to change their story about that particular discrete historical event, but in terms of the pattern that it represents or the ways that it might generalize to right fucking now, because nothing ever changed. And now you've got Cheney's, you know, trying to sell Democrats to a split nation, and Democrats thinking that's a good solution.
I think you're onto something there too, because it's also the fact that Democrats adopted these positions. In response to the war on terror.
Yeah, it became a free-for-all. It's like, here, have some xenophobia.
Yeah, there's no leadership there who's like telling you like, hey, we're against this. There was like small Obama era, you know, time where it was like, hey, we're not going to talk about radical Islamic terrorism all the time. And then that quickly ended, and now every Democrat says it. Yeah. It's fucked up.
There's a lot of militancy, which ironically enough caused the Democrats to lose the election to a guy who at least, you know, understood that he should lie to people about how he's a peaceful dove. Yeah, that was what's so crazy about this entire process. Of like, the Democrats lost to a guy who did the Muslim ban, who assassinated Qasem Soleimani, who threw away probably one of Obama's only good foreign policy achievements, which was the Iran denuclearization agreement and normalization with Iran. And then, you know, the Democrats lost to that guy again.
It is crazy. I mean, this time around, it was even more insane because it was so obvious that they were, you know, could lose, because it was the exact same playbook as 2016, that I kind of thought they were on some like 4-dimensional chess shit, where I was like, maybe they know something. I don't know, man. Like maybe I'm out of touch, which I think is interesting, because it kind of led to you, like people, even more so starting to take your, you know, to take you even more serious. Like you were able to, like, you went on like Crooked Media for the first time on what's his name? John, one of the John's shows.
John Lovett. Yeah. And I had, you know, what's interesting about that? I was actually on Crooked Media before. So I had done an episode a couple months before the election, where I talked to Jon Favreau initially. And
I always think we're talking about the guy from Swingers.
Different guy. No.
John Lovett and Jon Favreau. Different guys, different Johns.
John Lovett is the guy who, you know, he was in The Wedding Singer.
He's also a different John.
Oh,
but,
shit.
You know,
okay. Those guys should start a podcast.
Makes. Yeah, they're both Obama's speechwriters.
That's right.
They're both Obama's speechwriters, but
the Pod Johns.
The Pod Johns, yes. So I had been on with one of the Pod Johns a couple months prior, where we kind of had a little bit of back and forth about like, you know, Dearborn, Israel, and the like, and virtually all of the things that I warned about on that episode ended up, you know, happening, and the Democrats lost for those reasons. And then we did this after the election as well, and it was shocking for a couple reasons. One, because like so much of the audience was incredibly receptive to what I had to say.
Yes.
But it's only shocking because that means that they had not heard this perspective before. And I don't understand what your media diet looks like that you haven't even accidentally arrived at any of these conclusions. And it feels like there is definitely a crisis of not to come across like a reactionary, but like an echo chamber situation going on with mainstream liberal outlets. That,
it's what Chomsky always said. They've ingested a kind of enzyme that allows them to like derive absolutely no nutrition from these things. They can hear them, but it just passes through them. They have all the ideological filters they need so that even what you're saying wouldn't be intelligible to them. They can hear the words, but it goes in one ear and out the other, even when their own audience, who have not been leached and bleached of all common sense and moral consistency, are able to see it.
But will there be a positive takeaway from any of those lessons that they heard? I don't think so. I mean,
they're such good lesson learners, those guys.
Yeah, I just, it doesn't seem like it. I think like there was like 10 different like Hasan Pikers, the Joe Rogan of the left style articles that came out immediately after the election, including on CNN. And
simultaneous with the we need a Joe Rogan of the left.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like it was in that wave of like, we need to find a Joe Rogan of the left. Hasan Piker might be the Joe Rogan of the left. And it was interesting because like I kept repeating the point over and over again. I was like, you can't podcast your way out of this problem. Like you need to change the policies, right? Like the Democratic Party certainly has a messaging problem, but it also most significantly has a policy problem where they don't offer any policy prescriptions and they seemingly stand for nothing. And I think it was very illuminating that I believe it was, I forget which show it was on, but Ken Martin, who is now the DNC head, was interviewed right after my snippet. And right after that snippet where I'm talking about like how it's not about podcasts or whatever. Right. And he goes, I agree with Hasan Piker. He's right. And also, here's why we need a Joe Rogan of the left. Like he literally, it was such a funny moment where I was like, what? But like,
it's the enzyme, baby.
It was just shocking to me that he just heard the things that I said that directly contradicted exactly what he said in the aftermath.
Yeah, that's amazing. It just enzyme in action where they go, yeah, that's true. But also what I think is true. And here's what it's
we need someone out there who will tell us that we don't need someone out there. Yeah. We need someone who'll tell us to our face that we don't need.
See, that's why we need you. We need you, Hasan. We need someone to say that we don't need you.
Yeah, I think that there's genuinely a lot of people in DC that are allergic to changing anything at all. Yeah. And that they truly think that like if I don't know, like the Podjons looked more like me and like weightlifted more, we gotta put that Harry Sisson on TRT pronto. You know, you look too twinkish, Harry. We gotta get you. Yeah, we gotta get you on some anabolic steroids. Okay,
we gotta get you jacked.
Yeah, we gotta get you fucking brolic and make you wear like designer shit. So that get David Hogg on gear immediately. Yeah, and then it's over, you know.
True.
Then everything will be solved, and it's like that's not even a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah,
you're just off the puzzle board. You're off the table.
Not for nothing though, it was kind of shocking looking at you next to John Lovett because I guess I'd only ever heard his voice and I'd never seen him before, and I was like, oh yeah, he doesn't have to go full Hasan, but you could get a tan, maybe. I don't know.
That was your takeaway. You're like, get him on TRT ASAP.
Well, I'm watching this with my dick out. I'm not trying to like learn things. I'm just trying to get horny over here.
That's what most people do when they're watching me. They type in with one hand.
Typing with one hand, baby. Yeah, I go in the chat and write lol. I don't know, half the things. Sometimes
Take your shirt off.
I go into that chat and it's like speaking another language. I'm too old for this shit. So let's get into some bad Hasbara. I want to start off with a video that I found on the old school Facebook group Bad Hasbara, which I went on recently, and this is Dennis Prager.
My favorite.
So
wait, is he alive?
He's alive.
Aw.
I know.
Well, didn't he like almost die recently? And
I
people were
thought-
like, please keep Dennis Prager in your hearts. And I was like, I'm praying.
Oh yeah, you have no idea
Yeah.
how deep in the heart. I
Yeah,
am
that's
praying
the problem though. When motherfuckers like us pray, it doesn't work.
I know. Oh, it sucks. It's like every time one of these motherfuckers doesn't die, I'm just like, see, there's no God. But this is Dennis Prager, who went on some chud's fucking podcast and was asked about why are the Jews so successful? And I just, yeah, it was just one of those things where you're watching what is essentially an anti-Semitic question, and Dennis Prager turns it around and makes it anti-black. And
wow.
Here it is.
Okay, that's a cool one.
Why
Wait,
is
before
it
we start, can I ask?
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is my favorite. This is my favorite not Israeli person that I thought was Israeli for the longest time.
Wait, who is this
Patrick
guy?
Bet David.
Oh, that's Patrick Bet David. That's the most
Yeah.
Israeli coded
Wait,
name too.
he's
Yeah.
not. That's his
Yes,
name.
he's not. His name is Patrick Bet David. And if you've ever watched it, he's Valuetainment. He's one of my favorite characters. Me and Felix love this guy. He is, I believe, Assyrian
Okay.
and Iran. Like he's famous from Iran.
Is he Christian?
I think he might be. I'm not sure. I think he probably is.
He's not Israeli. He's
not.
just named like one. That's
Yeah.
fine. That's fine.
No,
Now,
he always I got some deep lore on this guy. He's he always says like two of my parents they always argued. One is he also sounds kind of Israeli too, which is so funny. Like,
was- no, that
his
was
name
a
is
good
Patrick
Persian
Bet
accent.
David. It's
That was
crazy
Persian,
to assume
yeah.
he's not Israeli, but he says like his mom or dad was a Mossadegh supporter.
mhm.
And then the other one was a Shah supporter.
And boy,
Yeah.
what a crazy family we have.
Yeah. He's like, I know this. I know how it is. I mean, he of course rides for the Shah, so
Of course he does.
Yeah.
He's a monarchist.
yeah, of course he's
Oh,
classic.
I love
But
it.
wait, one question I have for you: is Dennis Prager Jewish?
I think, but at this point, who the fuck knows? He's got to be. He is.
Okay, because
He has to be.
I always thought he was Christian. I don't know
Yeah, I
why
thought
he
Prager
just-
U was one of these Christian colleges. No,
Yeah,
Nah.
I thought Dennis Prager was always like a evangelical Christian. Actually,
I'm 99.9% sure
Oh.
he is Jewish, and I
oh
believe
no, he's not. He's not. He was. Wait, I was raised as a Catholic with your belief.
what the.
Wait, no. Wait, what?
No,
Never mind.
no,
That's
no.
that's a
Okay,
Facebook.
Producer Adam has it for us. I'll read what he has provided.
Okay,
Because
please.
producer Adam never finds false slop.
That's right.
Dennis Prager was born in Brooklyn to Hilda, née Friedfeld, and Max Prager, the latter the son of Polish Jewish immigrants. Prager and his brother Kenneth Prager were raised in a modern Jewish Orthodox home.
Am I
Okay.
crazy? Doesn't he strike you as like a evangelical pastor?
100%. I mean,
He's got
I
evangelical pastor vibes
just always assume he was Jewish because of the fact that
because he's in media.
yeah, because you know how
Because
you know
because he controls the media.
yeah, no, listen, hey, we would never say anything like that on this podcast. Funnily enough, these guys would. And let's go with it.
Why is
Yeah.
it years later, after a crisis like that, what values and principles helped Jews pretty much own Hollywood, do well in business?
I'm sorry, but I love asking Dennis Prager earnestly, what is it about Jews that make them so good at, being greedy and owning the media?
Why do you guys own Hollywood? Not me. Not Patrick, but David.
No, not me.
I'm not Jewish.
One of the things I've always appreciated about you is the way you dominate every aspect of my life
Yeah.
from behind the shadowy curtain.
What makes you so good at wrapping your tentacles around the world like an octopus? And,
No, it's
Given that you don't even eat octopus.
yes.
They have it all. They have it all on Valuetainment. Okay, they got they got this opinion, and then they also have like overtly rabid anti-Semites as well.
Yeah, I love
They
it.
represent the full spectrum of anti-Semitism.
I love it. This is it. I'm gonna have to start watching this guy. I need to support my fellow Israelis.
Do well in life.
Oh, I'll tell you. I have the answer
Go
for
for
you.
it, yeah.
They didn't see themselves as victims. It is the most paralyzing thing in black life, what the left is doing to blacks. The left hates you blacks. No, they don't hate you. They have contempt for you.
I'm sorry. I love someone who earnestly says the blacks, telling them someone else hates you and has
not just
for
the
you.
blacks, but he addresses them as they hate you blacks.
Yeah. Hey, blacks.
What? But the question was about Jewish people.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Also,
Yeah.
what-
He's thought about this a lot, about why are we so much better than he's looking around the American landscape and being like, why am I so smug and satisfied and have every need taken care of, and while my neighbors do not? Let me really ruminate and contemplate this question.
Nothing says I am white more than this. There's nothing. There's no like. If you want to know who the Jews of America are, it's so clear. It is just anti-blackness to immediately be like, why are we so good? Well, because these other fucks don't understand things like good culture, eating fish, or whatever.
Also, of all things to appeal to, we refuse to be victims. We refuse to speak about ourselves as victims. We refuse to see ourselves as victims. We refuse to highlight, foreground, or center our eternal victimhood.
It's
really
incredible. It's an incredible statement to make, especially considering all the content we have coming after this. But let's keep going. Tell us more.
If those blacks, if you want to see an example of picking
people
yourselves
who
up,
don't
of responding,
self-pity.
no self-pity, just moving through trauma and overcoming. Look what we created. Look, come to the U.S. Holocaust Museum. Okay, that's an example of an exciting startup business with a forward-looking mission.
Yes.
Right, and it's just all about self-respect.
Yes, if there's nothing less self-pitying than a Jewish American.
I'll tell you. I have the answer
Go
for
for
you.
it, yeah.
They didn't see themselves as victims. It is the most paralyzing thing in black life, what the left is doing to blacks. The left hates you blacks. No, they don't hate you. They have contempt for you. Telling you you're a victim is paralyzing. Jews did not walk around thinking they're victims even after the Holocaust.
Why not?
Because they knew it is completely self-destructive.
How did they know?
I don't know. It's a great... well, maybe because of the Jewish tradition has always been, we take responsibility for our own suffering.
So why wouldn't the media try to target the Jews to make them feel victims? How come they
Because-
don't
Hold
stick
on,
with
pause.
Jews?
I need to unpack that, as they
There's a
say.
lot going on. Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
You're
there.
pausing it right before it says because we control it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Make no mistake. That is what's coming.
Wait, shut up. I was just joking. Get the fuck out of here.
Well,
Okay.
it's implied, but go on.
Okay.
I mean, he's saying we refuse to be victims. I think he's talking about the period after the Holocaust when Jews just dissociated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yes.
It's
People
true. Jews didn't
deeply,
talk a lot
deeply
about-
in their trauma.
Deeply in their trauma, behind closed doors, traumatizing an entire new generation of young first generation, second generation Jewish kids here in North America, right? Passing on a whole lot of fucked up psychological shit in the Jewish world in North America.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And then it explodes in 1967. And ever since then, now we're the eternal victims, but while we're flexing our fucking arms and stomping on another people. Now we can be proud of it. Now
Yes.
we've processed it. We've processed it through what? The greatest steroid of all, victory.
Damn. I love it.
The media doesn't have contempt for Jews. It has contempt
Why
for
not,
blacks.
though? Why not?
Because the left has contempt for blacks. Because they use them. They don't use Jews.
Why? Why can't they use Jews? If they can use any sect, they would
Okay,
use.
wait,
So why
pause
can't
it,
they
pause
use
it.
Jews?
Patrick is like, come on, say it.
No.
Say it. Why don't they have contempt for Jews? Because they own it, right?
Yeah. Prager is going to, he's not going to directly say this, but he's instead going to say something else.
because they use them. They don't use Jews.
Why? Why can't they use Jews? If they can use any sect, they would do it. So why can't they use Jews?
Well, Jews are. I mean, Jews are disproportionately on the left. I mean, there's no way around it. So, in effect, there's no need to keep.
They already
Jews
have them, in a sense.
in a sense, yes.
So by the transitive principle, Jews overwhelmingly have contempt for blacks.
Yeah, that's exactly what he did. Yes, because he was saying like it's the left. The left has contempt for blacks, and and he's like, and also Jews are overwhelmingly on the left, and in the media. So it is the Jews in the media who he just said by the transitive property that the Jews in the media are whipping up the hatred for blacks.
Yeah. How do you arrive at Adolf Hitler in 2025? Like, he's like, Judeo-Bolshevism. They're doing moral degeneracy by dominating the arts. These leftist Jews.
It's crazy to be relitigating that as a Zionist, as a Jewish, you're just like, well, we all know about Judeo-Bolshevism, and we do know them as a fifth column, and they do try to subvert the home state.
We're trying to do moral degeneracy and undermine the Western civilization, which is superior.
I'm just saying, there's some art that is bad.
Yeah. I do want to point out something. So I typed into Google Dennis Prager Christian, okay? And I went to the videos tab, and the first video that popped up was, why isn't Dennis Prager a Christian? Fireside chat, Prager you. And the subtitle is, Dennis gets asked this question almost every day.
Jesus is on his ass constantly about it in the chat.
What the fuck? So that's
like
a
he's
weird
walking
thing.
down the street, or is it his wife?
Yeah.
His wife is just like, come on.
One of his 7 wives.
That's true. Yeah, one of his many wives.
I don't know if you guys know, Dennis is a prolific writer.
Yes.
When a Woman Isn't in the Mood, Part 1.
Oh, yeah.
Or who could forget When a Woman Isn't in the Mood, Part 2.
That's right.
He wrote a follow-up.
Really?
Both are
what are they, pamphlets?
basically a treatise. Yeah, pamphlets. He bought the Ford newspaper. He started writing pamphlets, but instead of anti-Semitism, he's talking about raping your wife and how it's permissible.
What to do when she's not in the mood? Well, what is it her business if she's in the mood or not?
Yeah.
So he, he made a lot of good points there. It's that the blacks are bad and that the Jews are smart and good and not self-pitying, which is, as we all know on this podcast, it's very true. We never pity. But
I mean, I'm still hung up on that. Right. We take not just we never pity ourselves, we take responsibility for our suffering. Okay. I think I know what he's referring to in Jewish tradition. I'm not a big student of Jewish scripture, but you look at something like the Passover Seder. It is very possible to have a reading of the Passover Seder where it's like, we were not spiritually prepared to not be slaves, right? And then when we were freed and we were in the desert, why were we in the desert for 40 years? Because we're a stiff-necked people and we wouldn't accept God and we needed to work shit out of our system. So there is somewhere in our tradition like a capacity to like look at the bad shit that happened to us and then take God's admonition. Don't fucking complain about it. Actually take a look at how can you purify yourselves? How can you become more worthy of a promised land, whether that's a geographic thing or just a spiritual thing, right?
Right.
But like Zionism is the end of that. I mean, has there been any like, wow, how did we end up as hostages in tunnels in a place called Gaza that's walled in? Like, how did those tunnels get there? How did our people how did they end up starved and emaciated in those tunnels?
Yeah. Yeah. No, is there any self-reflection that I think we have had if as a monolith, if we are ever, which of course we're not, everyone's got a different personality, but as a monolith, any self-reflection we may have had in scripture is it ended around 1948. I mean, we have especially, even with American Jews, which I think is the big shame from the last 16 months, is watching people who before October 7th were for all intents and purposes normal, as far as I could, normal passing, all of a sudden lose whatever it is in people's brains that makes them self-reflect and kind of think about cause and effect and take themselves out of the equation to talk about something, especially that's happening thousands of miles away, completely gone. It was just like, no, why are they in the tunnels? Because people hate us. Why do people hate us? Well, because people have always hated us. And how are you going to say that and fucking claim that? I mean, you know, that we don't see ourselves as victims. That's a fucking insane thing to hold both of those things at the same time. It is, yeah, you know, but hey, maybe I'm just being a bitch and seeing myself as a victim.
In fact, I would say we've been very industrious with our victimology. We've turned it into an industry.
That's right. Exactly. We have the, you know, we're good at business.
Fuck yeah.
We're really good at
Right, Hasan?
I'm not saying anything. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Can I get a walla? Can I get
I'm over here with
a
a 500-yard stare because I'm thinking of all of the clips that are gonna arrive. They're gonna get so viral. Oh my god! All of the funniest things I'm gonna hear for like the next week is gonna be shit like people who are like very clearly both Islamophobic and anti-Semitic.
Yeah, proud
being like,
racist.
yeah, you goddamn sand monkey. Yeah, like you hate the Jews, but not in a way that I hate them. I hate them better than you do. And also, why aren't you banned yet for promoting terrorism and being anti-Semitic?
You're gonna get morally scolded by Hitler was right 1488.
No, that's always
Look
funny.
at him
They're
just
like,
sitting there agreeing with these two Jews who are telling us how it really
Jew
is.
podcast.
Why don't you love
Jew
it?
agreeer?
Anti-Semitism. It's always great. The contradictions are hilarious. I don't know. I mean, look, I think doesn't this basically inform a lot of Israeli culture as well, like the Holocaust trauma or the reception of it overall, or even all the way down to how like mistreatment of Holocaust survivors in Israel has like factored in this equation, where it's like there's a lot of historical revisionism from what I understand in terms of like what happened during the Holocaust. Like, oh, the Jews were weak and feeble, and that's why they got killed in the Holocaust, and we can never be like that. And we are strong. Israel is strong and militant and muscular and love techno music. And
they went like lambs to the slaughter. Next time we'll go like
which
factory farmers.
Which is like a falsehood. Like that's not even correct. So it's such a weird way to mythologize something so traumatic across the board. So yeah, definitely not a healthy trauma response overall. In terms of like societal attitudes towards just a horrifying instance in history. But I think that's a lot of where that stems from, I think a lot of why like when I talk to friends of mine that have noticeably had like an attitude shift post October 7, I think that's where it comes from is just like the social conditioning and how much it's baked into your learning and everyday existence and culture overall, and how I feel like a lot of American Jews are very secular for the most part, right? Like they're not very religious, right? And that Zionism, I think, has become this like cool, marketable version of the religion that you can point to, and there's obviously tremendous amounts of consent that was manufactured for Israel being the most moral nation and the best democracy, the only democracy in the Middle East, and yada 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 for decades that you just kind of took for granted, and therefore I think it was like a interesting moment for a lot of people where they were like, did everything I learn about this place, was all of it wrong?
Unfortunately, more and more people are having the bandwidth to say, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I feel like I'm partially responsible for a lot of the younger Jews, at least in my community, getting that recognition, which is part of the reason why I think to circle back to what you were saying about institutions coming after me. I think that's the real reason why the ADL is up my asshole on a daily fucking basis. Yeah, because from the ADL's perspective, like, no young Jewish kid is watching Candace Owens go, the Talmud is the reason why you devil horn hiding Jews are doing Israel genocide. Right. Like, that's a very easy position to undermine.
Yes.
if you're Jewish or if you just have any fucking brain cells whatsoever.
Yeah.
You'd be like, yeah, that person is fucking anti-Semitic. That's why they're anti-Israel. They're using Israel to be anti-Semitic.
Right.
And there's some truth to that as well. But someone like myself, who very obviously isn't anti-Semitic, but is anti-Israel on the moral grounds that I think apartheid is unconscionable and genocide is unacceptable, that is a real problem.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden now you have young people who have confided in me in the past, who maybe look to get political analysis from someone like myself, who, and they understand that I have created a safe space against anti-Semitism for a decade plus at this point in my community. It's going to be very difficult for them to hear this, respond to it, and then go back home and then fucking have to debate their parents all the time. So
yeah, well, to recapitulate a sort of TV reference I made off the top of the show, right? You're reintegrating people.
Yeah,
the severance procedure that Zionism puts people through, right? Puts young Jews through, which requires them to split their ethnic, national belonging, tribal identity from their more general humanistic moral sense.
Yeah.
It actually requires a kind of severance.
Yeah.
And it creates this in and out world. And I mean, Finkelstein wrote, a fellow friend of you and Mr. Botticelli, Mr. Benelli, wrote a book 15 years ago called Knowing Too Much, The Coming American Jewish Breakup with Israel. Just saying that the tension between those two things is going to be too extreme, right?
Yeah.
To bear. And then someone comes along into the breach like you, who does offer people a place of safety and belonging. Like fucking, I've rolled my eyes at internet communities and stuff because I'm old and whatever. But what you're doing is real and actually creating a space where people feel safe. Well, that's the antithesis of any space in which people are going to look for a reason to be nationalistic, genocidal maniacs. If it's actually safe to be a Jew among young fellow Americans of your generation and your peer group, why do you need some foreign country and some flag to pay fealty to that's going to protect you from, right?
Yeah.
So you're giving people this kind of
also because that's the other side of it, right? Like you're American. Like you're not, what the fuck? You're not Israeli. That's why.
And overwhelmingly white too.
Yeah. But that's what's also so frustrating about this argument, because it's like there is obviously increased anti-Semitism. I don't mean like in the ADL version where it's like, oh, I saw a free parking sign.
I know what you mean.
But of course, there's definitely a lot of increased anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
Many of which coming from ADL's favorite character, Elon Musk's own platform that has supercharged this sort of stuff. There's like a Hitler ad the other day on the platform. Like they purchased an ad that is pro Adolf Hitler on Twitter.
Wait, Hitler?
Yeah.
What is he selling? AI?
He's selling himself.
Yeah.
I've got a great book.
Yeah.
You are going to read my book.
It's like I have a plan for Europe that everyone should really think about.
Yeah. So
Hitler now more than ever.
So there's that stuff, right? And then also the consistent association with like all of the awful violence that basically everyone can see on social media. Yeah. Being weirdly positively associated with Israel, as though it's or not associated with Israel, sorry, associated with Jewish people, as though this is like an inherent Jewish trait to fucking murder children. Yeah. And that's therein lies the problem, because if you're a dude from like Arkansas and you've never been around Jewish people and you know the memes, right? Like you have like a little bit of nascent anti-Semitism that where you're like, oh, they're
cultural osmosis at the very least.
Exactly.
You probably learned it from a Jewish joke told by a comedian who was doing it ironically.
And then you hear Jake Tapper be like, no, this is if you say Israel killing children is bad, then you're an anti-Semite. He's gonna be like, what the fuck,
dude?
Maybe they do control the media. What the fuck is going on here? Like, what? Okay, am I anti-Semitic now?
Well, it's the same response to wokeism, right? Don't tell me not to think for myself on pain of being labeled a bigot. Okay, fine, I'll be that bigot.
Yeah.
You know,
there's definitely an element of that. So that's the problem when people say like, no, every American Jew is a Zionist, you're doing a fucking dual loyalty trope, but
100%.
It's the woke dual loyalty trope.
Yes,
It's crazy.
And the amount of cognitive dissonance it's like crazy to see it. Like there was one recently, so I believe it was like JFreg and some other organizations got together. They put out an ad in what maybe it was the New York Times, I'm not sure. That said Jews fight back. It says Jews say no to ethnic cleansing. Signed by 400 rabbis and
Boots
some
Riley.
other and Boots Riley.
And my dad actually was a signatory.
Oh, for real?
Yep.
Dude,
I found out later.
they fucking never asked my dad. I just want to point that out. That's kind of unfair. This motherfucker, he used to be a scientist. Then he was a sandwich shop owner. And then he was a high school teacher, and then he sold meth. So it was like immediately after this was put out, the Hasbara machine went into action, and it was all just like people like Googling all of the rabbis to check their Jewish credentials to see how Jewish they were. And there was one account that wrote something that is just incredible that I have to share with you guys right now. This account is called Jews Fight Back.
That's the guy that sent to Richie Torres some of my clips.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, Richie Torres quote retweeted the Jews Fight Back account to be like, we have to ban this progressive. We have to ban one of the only progressive political commentators on an otherwise insanely hostile media landscape.
Yes.
A week before the election that he was also running in. That was what he was worried about fucking 5 days before the election. It blew my mind. Anyway, sorry, go on. Thank
you, Jews Fight Back, for supporting Richie Torres, Israel's own representative in the Bronx. Jews Fight Back wrote, the so-called 350 rabbis opposing the expulsion of Gazans is a nationwide list, not just New York. So first and foremost, just so you know, this is just a small portion of Jews. It's a mishmash of fringe voices from
It's a mishmash. What could be more Jewish than that?
Yeah, a mishmash is very
It's a Bissell from here, a Bissell from here.
Yeah, and Bissell from here. From all 50 states, many of whom have zero connection to an actual synagogue. Every name I looked up, no congregation, no real community, just self-proclaimed rabbis whose expertise seems to be in woke activism, not Judaism. Oh, by the way, none of this is true. The idea that there are rabbis on that list who I know personally who have congregations, so and who are part of the community.
As opposed to, my favorite defender of Israel, the rabbi with a congregation, Rabbi Shmuley.
Rabbi Shmuley, the most congregated rabbi of all time. There's one thing he's known for.
Author of Minion in Your Mouth.
Yeah, exactly. My daughter built a golem you can fuck.
I feel like they've packed him up a little bit, don't you? Like he's not around as much. Like I think Hasbara's getting a little bit better because they were like, our only guys are Jeffrey Epstein's best friend, Alan Dershowitz. Yeah, right. Fucking Rabbi Shmuley, who is like breeding anti-Semitism every time he is on TV.
He exists.
He's spreading it like a fucking STD.
And then Shai Davide, who's like famous for harassing college campus protesters, and then
crying about
making
it.
like front camera videos about himself crying.
No, I feel like the additional $150 million that went into Hasbara for the 2025 year is not going to Shmuley anymore, unfortunately.
It's going to Sex Destiny.
It's going to Sex Destiny. They're gonna get him. That guy.
Like, thank God, that's our guy.
And now it's all going to the lawsuits. So to continue, also 350 is a minuscule amount when you consider the scale of American Jewry. Meanwhile, actual rabbis with real congregations are too busy supporting Israel to sign some ridiculous statement defending terrorists. This is a classic PR stunt by the same crowd that thinks Judaism is just another wing of progressive activism. They don't speak for us. Now, just for a moment.
They are not like us. They are not like us. They are not like us.
Consider what he's saying they are not like. He's saying, no, most Jews say yes to ethnic cleansing. That imagine the cognitive dissonance you have to see Jews say no to ethnic cleansing and not have the beginning of your tweet be, first of all,
Woke
it's not
nonsense.
ethnic. Yeah, it's not ethnic cleansing. That's, you'd figure he would start there, but no, instead he says opposing the expulsion of Gazans. He's admitting to
Right,
ethnic
but actually,
cleansing.
actually, what he's asserting is even funnier than that. He's saying, you know what? If you really knew Jews, okay, you know that to be a Jew, a true Jew, is to be silent on ethnic cleansing.
That's right.
We don't say
No,
yes
not
to
even
it,
silent.
but we sure as hell
Loudly and
don't say no to
proudly-
it.
No, loudly and proudly in support of it.
Yes.
He's like, I don't know these guys. Well, all the Jews I know love ethnic cleansing.
All the Jews I know say yes to ethnic cleansing. We could also take out an ad. It would take up the whole paper with how many Jews. It's pretty much every Jew. Do you know how much danger that puts Jews in America when you are just boldly stating that Jews are a monolith that support ethnic cleansing? Are you fucking kidding me with talking about it? How can you even say the words anti-Semitism at someone else when you were saying that shit? That's
I
crazy.
think
The Bible takes no position on ethnic cleansing.
That's right.
I feel like there is this like weird situation where for the first like 5 years of now my decade-long media career, I consistently had to explain to people that like, no, ISIS is not Islam, right?
Yeah.
And it's weird to see
I know.
like prominent voices in media be like, as a Jew, Israel does represent Jews.
I know.
Like it's literally like if you know prominent Muslim figures in the American Muslim community were coming out and be like, you don't understand, ISIS is doing like culturally relevant things. ISIS is the true defender of Islam, and we love what they're doing. Like,
that is fucking crazy. That is fucking crazy. Yeah, it is essentially just American Jewish celebrities, like people with careers who continue to have careers by just being like, Israeli ISIS, sign me up.
It's pretty insane. Great. I was reading something about like Mayor Kahan, friend of the show.
Yeah, friend of the show, Meir Kahane. Yeah.
Friend of the show. About like the advent of never again as a slogan and like how he utilized it, which was literally never again for just us, like just Jews, right? Yes. And now I'm seeing like liberal Zionist accounts being like, no, never again just means just for Jews.
Yeah.
Which is like an insane. I feel like it's an insane paradigm shift, and it's also probably not good for future generations to like develop with this consciousness, because then you have other I think it was David Shore who came out with this study in between his Mali parties that he was doing and tanking the Democratic Party so that fascists could win. He came out with this study about like anti-Semitic opinions among like the American youth, and it's like literally insanely high in comparison to every other generation. Yeah, and it wasn't even. And I looked into it immediately. I was like, oh, is this like one of those? What do you think about Israel?
Right,
and,
of course.
And you know they're conflating the two, but no, it was literally like, do you have a favorable opinion of Jews? And like a lot of young people have an unfavorable opinion of Jews. And I think it is directly a consequence of the constant association of Judaism, the false association between Judaism and Israel.
Yeah.
If you're
and
young
Judaism and a kind of loud browbeating victimhood to back to contra Dennis Prager's point, like a kind of like lording it over the world, that we suffered in this way and never again will we be on that side of the suffering ledger. If anyone suffers, it's going to be the ones who are suffering at our hands. You're never going to do it to us.
And we all think this. Yeah. It is nuts because I have to admit that like when I see that coming from young people, especially young people of color, like it used to be my initial response to that was like, hey, this is, I don't care who you are, you should probably try to unlearn your biases. But now I'm just like, Yeah, I know you're actually kind of only believing what you've been told. and and at this point, like, I can't really fully blame you because people are tweeting out, no, we do believe in ethnic cleansing, and like, and those people have institutional muscle behind them and will get like quote tweeted by a fucking sitting congressman from the Bronx. At this point, I don't blame them as much as I blame I don't blame the kids as much as I blame the Zionist institutions actively spreading anti-Semitism. It's crazy.
Yeah. And what also obviously some of these people fail to consider is that like anti-Semitism is a real issue, and it is a canary in the coal mine of fascism. Like I believe that. Like that's not, even though now it's associated with a canary mission.
Yeah, I know.
Which is fucking insane.
I
like
know.
a rampant doxing operation by rabid Islamophobic racist psychopaths.
Yes.
It's the canary mission in the coal
They
mine.
get fucking Knesset grants too, simultaneously, to do doxing operations in the United States of America.
Yeah.
But also, like, because it's a real problem, and because, yes, Jews are a minority at the end of the day, there's not that many of you guys. Like, I do legitimately worry that I guess I don't have the same level of confidence that like Zionists have in terms of like, no, they'll never betray us. The Gentiles will never turn around and be like, no, actually, we should pack these guys up now that we're done. Now that we're done with whatever other kind of fascist domination that we were engaging in, like, you guys are next. They didn't used to always say America is a nation built on Judeo-Christian values.
Yeah.
That is an advent of the post-war on terror propaganda.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was, 20 years ago, nobody was saying America is a nation built on Judeo-Christian values.
Yeah.
Those guys that were in charge, some of them who are still very much alive and still also in charge, were very clearly like, I don't even fuck with the Catholics.
Yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean?
Yeah, I'm not
Like,
putting
what are you-
Judeo in front of my Christian values.
Yeah, I think it's like
This ain't cran
delusional.
apple. This is straight apple, dog. Fuck you.
Yeah, I think it's genuinely delusional to think that like there could be this kind of like fascist allegiance internationally that will sustain itself and will help with the preservation of Jewish people, especially in a country like the United States of America. And that is something that I truly fear.
Well,
Yeah.
that's fine as long as you can, if you've forged really good bonds with these Christian organizations, then you can be employed in one of the institutions which will,
Send the leftist Jews to the camps.
Yeah.
well, or over there to Israel to
which is a
Gaza to
camp.
fortify the.
Yeah,
because,
that's true. There's
That'll
that
be the
too.
different kind of camp, where
yeah,
you go
what
and-
is Israel? But at this point, at the end of the like Zionist fascist vision, but a camp for Jews.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
what
I mean,
is it other than that? Where does it go other than that? It doesn't go. It's crazy. The only Jews left in the diaspora are part of the Judenrat, who's just the Jewish police force sending the Jews to Israel. This is fucking. It's crazy, dog.
Yeah. But no, it'll be great. Matt, you have to listen to the worst EDM you've ever. You have to wear capri pants and listen to the worst EDM of all time for the rest of your life.
I have to learn to like psytrance.
Yeah, you have to listen to psytrance and eat and eat the shittiest pizza,
Yeah.
which is
Well,
an Israeli food.
Yes, that they invented. Before we continue, I'm going to listen to a little bit of psytrance music just to get myself ready for the eventual forced aliyah. But please, everyone, stick around. We will be right back.
Jumping Jacks was us.
And we're back. This is Bad Hasbara, world's most moral podcast, and we're here with Hasan Piker, aka Hasanabi, aka Hamasabi. Are you gonna? Is there like any part of you that wants to reclaim the Hamasabi name? It's kind of
A little bit. It's just that like the association is initially created by people with a Islamophobic purpose. So
True.
it's
That's
just
true.
it's just frustrating to be able to take ownership over it.
Yeah.
Also, Americans do not associate Palestinian emancipation of any sort as a positive broadly. So it's like,
yeah. So more so with the name Hamas.
yeah.
So yeah, it's still though. It's
out there.
It's out there. It's a pretty sick moniker if you choose to rise above and get it tattooed on you. Listen, if you don't do it, I'm taking it.
Okay, you take it. You can be Hamasabi.
Hell yeah. So we have an article from the Jerusalem Post. Our friends at the Jerusalem Post, shout out to one of the weirdest fucking publications ever made. Is it a newspaper? Is it a blog? We don't know. All I know is people write in it, and sometimes they delete their writing.
Oh, that's my favorite.
I love when they do
post articles.
It feels like if they allowed like people in an old folks' home to create their own little newspaper.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's
like
cool.
They'll write articles like, well, honestly, Jordan was always a part of Israel.
Yeah.
They'll be like, let's delete this one. This one didn't do well. People read it. People actually read it and were very scared of what we were saying in it.
South Lebanon, more like North Israel.
Yeah. They literally, I believe it was Jerusalem Post that had to delete the Jews need Lebensraum.
Yeah.
Unironically.
The Lebanon one, yeah. Southern Lebanon. It's just free real estate.
It's free real estate.
Yeah.
Well, they have not deleted this post yet. And this is, I don't expect them to, but it is, once again, kind of like the, we're doing the cognitive dissonance Olympics here. Like this is wild. It is anti-Semites condemn Trump's relocation plan in refusal to accept State of Israel. Opinion. I love. So at this point, it is anti-Semitic to be against ethnic cleansing.
Yeah,
I love that. That is an opinion that someone is stating completely unironically.
This is an anti-Semite's dream.
Dude.
Like J-Post is just like,
yeah,
it's insane. Like it's insane to be like, no, you don't understand. It is a part of Judaism to do ethnic displacement. Like we have to do it.
Yeah, it is anti-Semitic. It means you hate Jews.
Yeah,
and this next sentence, this subheading is no better. A comprehensive and unequivocal solution to the Gaza problem is tantamount to accepting the long-term existence of the State of Israel.
Like a final.
Some sort of, you know how there's a Gaza problem and we need a Gaza solution?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be nice if we didn't need a solution after that one. If that solution somehow was in the sequence of solutions, that's sort of the last one, right? The terminal one, the one after which there need be no further solutions.
Let's call it comprehensive and unequivocal.
Yeah.
Just to,
the solution to end all solutions.
Yeah. Just to avoid any negative associations.
It's not the penultimate solution.
No. It's the one right after.
Yeah.
The right after penultimate solution.
The post-penultimate solution.
Post-penultimate. Yes. The post-penultimate solution to the the Gaza problem.
You know what it reminds me of is the transfer is not a dirty word article that Ben Shapiro wrote in 2012.
I have not seen that. That's
you've never seen this?
No.
That's the only word that starts with those 5 letters that he thinks isn't a dirty word.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, he wrote it.
I am not
2012.
transphobic. I'm into transferring entire populations away from where they live.
He identifies as transfer.
He wrote this back in 2012, and I think it's one of the few articles that it's still out there, but like he does say that his attitude had developed since then, which is really interesting because we know that that's not the case, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
Nothing in him has developed since then.
Yeah. Dude has been
he
stunted.
still looks exactly like he did, like a little child. But
it's amazing that guy stays childish.
Yeah. But one of my favorite like long-standing bits way back in the day was just to like Google translate it to German and then play it out. And it just sounds identical to a Hitler speech where he's just literally talking about like, no, we need to pick these dirty Arabs and put them in trains and ship them off somewhere else.
It always sounds better in its original German.
Yeah.
So this article might also sound as good, but this one's more whiny, which is what I love about the Jerusalem Post.
Oh, that one was whiny too. I mean, come on, it's Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Okay.
So, among the anti-Semites' responses worldwide, the response of Spanish Foreign Minister Jose Manuel Alvarez caught my eye. Under Alvarez, Spain has become a world leader in hatred of Israel, having joined the lawsuit against Israel in The Hague, rushed to impose an arms embargo on Israel, plus sanctions on Israelis, cutting ties, and more delicacies for the anti-Semitic palate. I love
Like
it.
so much jamon.
Like so much. Come on.
So much Iberian ham.
Yes. Yeah. It is definitely not kosher, that Iberian ham. That's why we left in 1492. Let's see.
Ironically enough, where did you go? To the land of my people.
That's right.
The Ottoman Empire, which
right.
Initially was a safe haven for Jewish people.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though, we of course also have Arabs and Muslims alike have always had this ancient anti-Semitic gene, according to our former president, cadaver Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But somehow you managed to put it aside for long enough that Syrian Jews, I learned this from my girlfriend who's has some Syrian Jewish descent, had a tradition on Hanukkah where they will light an extra candle in gratitude for the hospitality and community they found in Syria after the expulsion from Spain. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And there are people, in Damascus and Aleppo who still
but how do you
having Jewish neighbors and they mourn their departure.
How do you know that's not a Hamas PR stunt?
Oh, it probably is.
That's like, Hamas makes you wear, shake hands and wear the lanyard with the Palestine flag. That was like Syrians, like, you better put an extra candle on that candelabra.
Yeah.
That's probably what happened. So let's see. Quote, Gaza belongs to Palestinians and they must stay there, announced Alvarez. They must. This coming from a representative of a country that once expelled hundreds of thousands of citizens just because they were Jewish.
Shut the fuck up. Not a shred of irony.
No
None.
irony.
No.
No irony.
There's no irony in the Jerusalem Post.
He's like, oh, it's funny you would say that. Someone who was silent during the Spanish Inquisition.
Okay,
Look who
but he's
decided to
also
turn off
making
the music in the ethnic cleansing musical chairs game a little early.
Yeah, wait, he's like, but the entire article is defending ethnic cleansing.
Yeah.
The ethnic displacement of Palestinians.
Yeah.
Oh, now we don't get to do it?
Yeah, there's a lot going on with this article. Trying to pinpoint a very specific ideology is almost impossible, especially since Trump has now made like the transfer of Gazans into a humanitarian, thing where it's just like, no, we're doing this to help. Now every Zionist is just like, don't you care about the Gazans? We're trying to help them. And so they are promoting ethnic cleansing as a helpful solution. And this is, we'll keep going. Alvarez is just one of the one on the list of leaders who jumped in the panic, and he, at least, doesn't bother to arm himself with moral arguments. The Gazans must stay, in his opinion, alive or dead, and it's clear why. It is not moral opposition to transfer that stands behind the declaration. After all, the world's nations don't oppose population movements. In 1948, when all the Jews of Arab countries were expelled from their states with only their clothes on their backs, Spain didn't claim it was a moral injustice. There was
By the
no
way, that's
Spanish.
not true. It didn't suddenly happen in 1948.
Yeah,
Just suddenly.
Yeah, that's an
Otherwise,
insane.
otherwise Israel wouldn't
it's
have had
funny-
to bomb Baghdadi synagogues in the 50s.
That's right.
It's funny. It's funny to think that like all of the Arab nations were just like, oh man, the Holocaust just ended. Now it's our time to expel our Jews.
yeah. Come on, guys. We got to pick up the slack.
Yeah, they were like, fuck, we missed our shot.
Yeah.
Hey guys,
Real
is the
quick.
Holocaust still going on? No, I think it ended
sorry.
like 3 years ago. Shit, we said we'd have them out here by 2 years later.
I'm sorry, bro. I slept in for a bit. I had a really late night.
Are
and
your
just
Jews
fucking-
still there? Oh shit, mine are
okay.
too.
No, don't
Yeah.
worry. We got this. We'll finish it.
Let's send them to that camp that just opened up.
Yeah. There was no.
Oh yeah. It's real nice when America does it, but when the Arabs do it, you're like,
Right.
I have issues.
Right. Yeah. That's fucked up. Yeah. If anyone's going to tell us we have to move to Israel. Let's see. There was no Spanish opposition when Jews were evacuated from the Sinai in 1982, nor when Israelis were evacuated from Gush Katif. Yeah. So to be clear, Gush Katif is in Gaza. It was literally a settlement. And the Sinai was also settlers who settled after 1967 when the Sinai was taken from Egypt in the Six-Day War.
Also, like, it'd be weird if the Spanish government is like, hey, I'm really offended that the Israeli military is forcibly removing the most rabid of the settlers that were like, no, I'm going to stay in this fucking settlement in Gaza. I don't care. I'm staying here.
This Zionist photo op is anti-Semitic.
It is fucking insanely funny too. To also, I mean, again, we're talking about not even like the fucking like prime minister or president or whatever the fuck Spain has. They don't have they have a king still, right? I don't know. They don't they have a Bourbon? I feel like they have a Bourbon who just sits around.
He's jamon iberico all day.
Yeah, just a Bourbon eating jamon.
I mean, that's what happened with the Netherlands too. Those kings are always pro-Israel.
Yeah, they're there and they're just like, oh no, yeah, kingdoms are great. That's why we like Israel. We're trying to make it one. He again, we're like blaming the Spanish foreign minister for not speaking out during the 1948 expulsion of Jews from Morocco. Like fucking.
Like, how old was he at the time? Like, I assume he was like fucking 5.
He was probably 5, if alive at all. It is
Wasn't
so...
Franco still fucking? No, I guess it was after Franco.
Yeah, and also, yes, no, it would have been Franco. It's like, it was literally fascist Spain. Anyways, it is just incredible to be like, well, where were you when the Jews were ethnically cleansed from that land they were trying to ethnically cleanse?
Yeah.
That is so wild.
Where were you when the Jews were redeployed from one area of settlement?
Yeah.
Which had been, basically deemed a waste of time and resources and moved to another area, another zone of interest.
Yes.
In the West Bank.
That is crazy. Well, you didn't say anything during 1492 when Columbus exiled the ocean Jews. In fact, Spain has willingly absorbed quite a few Syrian refugees.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my shit. Now he's going to get like weirdly Islamophobic, I assume.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, listen, they absorbed quite a few Syrian refugees who fled their burning country, viewing it as a humanitarian act. Ukrainians and Eritreans fleeing their country enjoy sympathy for the moral and justified idea that embraces people fleeing a war-torn area.
We're creating what? We're creating these beautiful refugees for you, and you won't take them. Why? Because Jews made them refugees.
Yes, exactly. It's because they've been touched by
They've been tarnished by,
It's fucking insane. The Gazans are unique in the world, being imprisoned in their valley of tears, bleeding, miserable, condemned to lives of poverty and disgrace under a dark terrorist organization.
Whoa,
He didn't have to come after Israel that hard,
Jesus
bro.
Christ, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know.
I mean, that's kind of
Like,
based.
I don't
but
even say that.
Yeah, this maybe this guy's a comrade.
Dark terrorist organization.
Even when they flee, they encounter closed gates behind which stand moral faces like Alvarez and his ilk, who announce with bone-chilling composure, "No exit. You must stay."
That's right. At the gate at the Erez crossing or whatever. Alvarez is the one blocking exit.
Hola.
So even
¿Cómo está? Bien? So you cannot cross through here.
with no Palestinians.
No Palestinians are here. Okay.
Even when they
I can do that
flee.
accent because I'm doing Spanish from Spain. That is a white Spaniard. It is okay. I can do it.
Spain. We never miss an opportunity to lisp.
Yes.
But even when they flee, he says, no, the point is they can't.
Yeah. And the crazy thing about this too is,
and they would if they thought they could get to Spain.
They're saying, you guys are taking in all these fucking refugees from Syria and from Eritrea and Ukraine, and all of a sudden you're against the idea of people being made refugees. As if the thing that they're accepting is like, no, we love the creation of refugees. creating them is we don't really care for the people. We just like when they're made. And then we like them to come to our country and just go, let's look at them. It's like fucking insane cognitive dissonance.
I mean, he is right, though. It is a dark terrorist organization that is like destroying the lives of Palestinians. It's just,
absolutely.
I think for Jerusalem Post purposes, like they, it's definitely not Hamas.
I don't know if he knows which one he's talking about, but I'd like to assume, benefit of the doubt. Alvarez doesn't care about the Gazans' moral values or world peace. Before his eyes stands one well-known fact. A comprehensive and unequivocal solution to the Gaza problem is tantamount to accepting the long-term existence of the State of Israel. Solving Gaza's problem through migration means not only erasing for generations Israel's hardest and bloodiest border, but
I love it. I love erasing for generations borders.
Borders, but also signaling to the West Bank Arabs that without a viable peace, their future might be similar. This, the anti-Semites must not agree to. At this point,
he's threatening. He's just saying like, "Oh, you're next."
And they can, the anti-Semites cannot allow a solution that would once and for all finally terrify the Arabs into complete and total submission.
Yes, it is. It is just. I mean, at this point, the label anti-Semite, I'm just like, I don't even think you know what it means anymore. Jerusalem Post. It's fucking.
It's just weird. It's like not only is it whiny as fuck, but it's also like this very annoying 2016 like woke columnist style associated with it. But like when you understand what they're talking about, it's like you're defending ethnic cleansing for a ethno-religious superiority project.
Yes.
Like that is doing, genocide in an apartheid state. And it's so weird to try to hit that from the perspective of like,
the racists hate this. Yeah. The racists hate when we do ethnic cleansing. And it's like, I think everybody does, but I think you're just talking about racists as if that is the majority of people. It is insane.
Wiping entire families off the register to trigger the libs.
Yeah, still, Trump has achieved an impressive feat. He succeeded at once in making all those who plot Israel's downfall jump up in panic from their lair. To be fair, I do. This is sort of a lair. Let's see. He exposed their double standard, according to which the arbitrary imprisonment of 2 million innocent people is more moral than their absorption into organized states of their brethren in the region. I'm sorry, did he just admit that
arbitrary
Gaza
imprisonment
is an open-air prison? Just let me read that again. He exposed their double standard, according to which the arbitrary imprisonment of 2 million innocent people is more moral than their absorption into organized states of their brethren.
This is like the Nazis saying. This is like the Nazis saying, we created. I'm wondering. I bet you're wondering why we've gathered here today. Well, we created these concentration camps to make a very important and sad point. The world doesn't want these Jews either.
Yeah.
Wait, no, we created these horrible conditions, and you don't even want to free them from that. You think that that's better than living in your country. Okay,
Hitler did that.
Yes, Hitler literally said that.
Yeah,
that is a thing that Hitler said. Because initially it's the Madagascar plan, right? So I think in an effort, like I don't know if there was any real interest in like relocating Jewish people overall, but I think I remember seeing.
Yeah, there is a quote.
Yeah, I remember seeing a quote about like how the English are hypocritical for not taking the Jews, and that like all of these other people, in the Western world were basically not offering refuge to these parasitic Jews or something like that. Basically, where he had no other option. Yeah, like he had to do a final solution.
Yeah, and this is a classic Nazi talking point. The idea.
I have it, by the way, if we want.
Oh, please, if you want to hear it. Yeah, we love to quote Hitler. Go ahead.
Yeah,
we love that.
We are reading Jerusalem Post. So
Yeah.
we already did quote Hitler. So
Yeah. Good point. Good point.
This is from a website called Facing History and Ourselves. I don't know who ourselves is, but anyway, on January 30th, 1939, 6 years after he became Chancellor of Germany, so in 39, Hitler made a speech to the Reichstag that set forth his vision of the world's future. He began by saying that other nations were hypocritical when they complained that Germany was mistreating Jews. Quote, "In connection with the Jewish question, I have this to say. It is a shameful spectacle to see how the whole democratic world is oozing sympathy for the poor, tormented Jewish people, but remains hard-hearted and obdurate when it comes to helping them, which is surely, in view of its attitude, an obvious duty. For this is what they say. We, that is the democracies, are not in a position to take in the Jews. Yet in these empires there are not 10 people to the square kilometer, while in Germany, with her 135 inhabitants to the square kilometer, is supposed to have room for them. They assure us we cannot take them unless Germany is prepared to allow them a certain amount of capital to bring with them as immigrants. For hundreds of years, Germany was good enough to receive these elements, though they possessed nothing but except infectious political and physical diseases," and so on and so forth, right? Today we are merely paying this people what it deserves. So on and so forth. And then final paragraph. "In the course of my life, I have very often been a prophet and have usually been ridiculed for it. During the time of my struggle for power, it was in the first instance the Jewish race which only received my prophecies with laughter when I said that I would one day take over the leadership of the state and that I would then, among many other things, settle the Jewish problem. Today, then the, blah, 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 blah."
Man, that was Ben Shapiro, you said?
Yes.
Man,
young
he could
Shapiro.
write. You gotta credit where credit is due. This
He's got
kid
quite a
can
pen.
write.
Yeah.
It is like, at this point, it's just no longer shocking. The fact that these guys, at the Jerusalem Post and like various other quote Jewish publications that are essentially just mouthpieces for Zionism, that they are just doing it's like asking GPT, "Hey, can you write me like a Hitler thing, but
Hitler as
a Jew? Like, what if
Right.
Hitler
In the style of.
in the style of Hitler?" Yeah, it's crazy to me because he's talking about the final solution of the Jewish problem, and we're reading a fucking article that is saying exactly the same thing, but with more words, which always better for more words. Just to end it here, after all, the war against Israel's legitimacy requires a narrative of a suffering people, and the Gazans, that's their role. And so on, in keeping with this line of thinking, they must continue to suffer. They must.
in the hands of who is the question I constantly find myself asking whenever people try to do this weird fake, if you care about the Gazans, you must ethnically displace them.
Right. Yeah. Because
Israel
I
is
will
always-
kill them.
Yeah.
That's
Israel's always considered like a naturally occurring phenomenon. It's like a typhoon, I guess,
Right.
or an earthquake.
An earthquake. Yeah.
It was incredible
Yeah.
seeing Netanyahu sitting there next to Trump as Trump is saying, it's a very dangerous place. All they do there is die. They're just going to keep dying. It's just a disaster. I wouldn't want to live there. It's not kind to keep them there. And Netanyahu just sitting there with
Smirking.
that fucking smirk on his face.
Yeah. Because he's just, it's like hearing a fucking dog. Yeah, it's like when a dog hears their owner blaming the other dog for something they did, and they're just like, yeah, that's right. It's it's incredible. And I was just thinking about this cognitive dissonance and what it is, and it's funny the amount of time we spend trying to understand it when it is just so clear. How can someone look at a prisoner, an Israeli hostage that returns, who is gaunt from being, in tunnels for 15, 16 months.
And also being
be-
starved by fucking Israel.
Well, to look at them and be like, I'm crying right now. And then to look at, thousands of Palestinians dead and, fucking buried under rubble, children and other Palestinian prisoners coming back all gaunt from their treatment and feel nothing. In fact, even mock them. We try to understand this cognitive dissonance all the time. And it's stupid because I'm just like, oh, it's just hate.
Yeah, no, they
It's
just
pure racism.
that's why I've given up. If I'm talking to someone who's even a little bit pro-Israel, I don't even talk about that side of the hypocrisy, because like the underlying sentiment in all of my experience, like going back and forth with a lot of people on this issue, is that it almost always devolves into, well, they're not human. They're like
They're
a
not
parasitic
human.
evil force that must be excised forcibly.
Yeah.
But that's why it's also additionally idiotic when, I mean, this was Abu Ubaida who said it, I think on October 8, where he was like, what fate befalls the Palestinian people will befall every Israeli that that we have taken as prisoner. And it's true. It's like, yeah, if you bomb us, they're going to get killed in the bombing. If you starve us, they're going to starve because we're not going to be able to give them proper food. And honestly, in spite of all of that, in spite of the blockade, in spite of the endless bombing, it like they look objectively in better condition than the average Palestinian coming out of permanent detention from a Israeli concentration camp.
The worst of them look very, very, very stressed.
Yeah.
They look malnourished.
Yeah,
They
they
look
were getting bombed,
terrified.
you know?
They look like they've been in captivity under very perilous circumstances. They look like they should look after that much time.
Right.
Many of them look, I mean, unaccountably healthy.
It's crazy that there are that many who don't look like they've been hostages
That's
for
right.
15 months. and you know, that's not to say that in any way like, oh, you know, this is it's good to be a hostage or whatever. It's not defending hostage taking, but it is showing the difference between a fucking, you know, an organization like Hamas being able to take care of its hostages or its prisoners or captives better than Israel, like a fucking modern rich ass state like Israel. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
and
just so clear the difference.
And
It's so
there's just
clear.
there's just no reciprocity. The Palestinians in Gaza haven't been able to affect the conditions of their detainees, their hostages in Israeli prisons one bit. That has been 100% under the control of the Israelis, as opposed to the condition of the Israeli hostages in Gaza,
That's right.
at least in major part, is dictated by Israeli policy.
Yeah. And it's crazy because like so many of the hostages that have been released, whether on the humanitarian grounds with like I think her name was Yoav Lipschitz, the first older lady that was released,
Right.
or virtually every other hostage that has been released since then has been fairly vocal about their treatment by Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad, stating on numerous occasions, and I'm shocked that they even like openly said this, but that they were, for understandable reasons, because they are leverage, taking the best care to the best of their ability, and that even Noah Argani, I think her name was, the famous the hostage that was made famous by the Israeli and American media.
Right.
That
the ones they were like, look how hot she was. How dare they take a hot
that was
lady.
I didn't want to say that, but yes, that is
that's what they're doing.
A lot of people were doing, which was weird. Yeah, they were like, look at these savage barbarians stealing our beautiful women, which is of course an old colonial trope.
Yes,
but,
it is.
With her, I think there was a moment where like the Israeli media basically misquoted her, saying that like that Hamas had like brutalized her or assaulted her, and she came out on her Instagram story and was like, no, I did not get assaulted by them at all. It was actually Israeli bombing that harmed me. Like, can you stop lying about my experiences? Like, you're re-traumatizing me by just basically lying about my personal experience. These people are not pro-Hamas, obviously. They're not fucking pro-Palestinian at all. Like, they're just accounting for their actual experiences, and yet after months and months, the $150 million, as you were saying, was deployed, I think, in this initiative 100%, because there was way too much conversation on social media about the horrible torture that virtually every single Palestinian that was being released had undergone, and it was so visible. But because there's virtually no media out there in the West Bank, even because the Israeli military also suppresses them as well, that it was not getting as much coverage, but it was at least getting a little bit of motion in social media. So lo and behold, I think the Israeli government decided to go, these guys are emaciated. These guys are in horrible conditions. Hamas did this. Look at how terrifying this is. In an effort to basically counteract all of the imagery that we had seen, and of course, Western media that had not covered any of the
it.
Palestinian prisoners that were being released, Palestinian hostages that were being released from Israeli detention, and the torture that they had experienced. That they turned a blind eye to that. Immediately, they started covering the claims that were being made by the Israeli government. That, of course, in very American president fashion, just like Joe Biden did back in the day when he was president, Donald Trump was like, they look like Holocaust victims.
Right. Yeah. Immediately. And that has been, the thing they've been saying. And it's funny for anybody who has been, paying attention to this for the last 16 months. There's nothing that we see other than cognitive dissonance. That's all we see, because they're seriously going to say with a straight face, they're going to put out this cartoon with a straight face. On one side it says never again, and there's 3 emaciated Jews behind barbed wire. It's black and white. It's the Holocaust. And then the panel next to it says again, and it's 3 emaciated Jews surrounded by Hamas fighters.
Yeah, it's so reminiscent of all those times that the Nazis released Jews from Auschwitz.
Right, exactly.
Publicly. And gave them a little certificate.
Famous for releasing the prisoners. That's what everyone knows.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And the reaction, I mean, it's like no matter what condition the Israelis are released in, it's horrible. And what it is you're seeing Israelis in a moment of humiliation and vulnerability, right? Like if they're released and they seem perfectly healthy and of sound mind and body and whatever, then it's like, imagine what they're going through inside. Imagine how humiliating. Now, I've seen critiques of the way Hamas parades these prisoners across the stage. I'm not going to comment on that, right? It does have it's an optics thing that has certain consequences, and you could argue strategically that you're not doing yourself any favors. Whatever. You could also argue that it's cruel punishment. Fine, whatever. Right. But the defiant sympathy for whatever condition an Israeli hostage is in, compared with the total silence. I mean, Shail Ben Ephraim, our favorite liberal Zionist guy, today posted something like, "It's so good to see the hostages on their own 2 feet," or something. Or this is a different. No, that's a different one.
Yeah. Hold on, I have it.
The other part of that is like stamping them with the Star of David is yet another like insane way where Israel's just like taking ownership over this stuff and also simultaneously associating it with Judaism to be like, yeah, no, I want everyone to associate like cruel and inhumane treatment of these people with Judaism.
Yeah.
Right. And I was talking to Matt earlier today, and it's like, okay, both Israel and Hamas are engaging in a kind of like sadistic reality TV show fashion parade where you dress up your captives and you parade them in front of the world, right? One of them dresses them up in sort of army neutrals and brings them across the stage briefly with a certificate, right? All right, always good to see the hostages standing on their own 2 feet, says Shail Ben Ephraim. And I said, well, as opposed to Palestinian hostages who are lucky if they leave prison with 2 legs.
Right. Yeah.
One just got it, came back with 1 leg amputated. But so that's what Hamas does. That's their method of doming, right? Fashion doming the Israelis. They make them go through that humiliation. Okay, let's call that a humiliation. What do the Israelis do? What's their style? Let's dress them up in sweatshirts with the Star of David that says, "We will never forget and we will not forgive," in Arabic.
Yeah.
Right? And we make them cower in the corner with their like on their knees facing away from the camera. And this is the image we want to put out. Okay, well, if I had to pick between one terrorist organization and the other, both engaged in humiliating sort of photo ops and fashion rituals, Hamas comes out looking a whole lot more dignified.
Yeah. I mean, the worst you can say about the, at least fashion wise, is they got a lanyard
Yeah.
It was a lanyard with a fucking, a Palestinian flag on it. It's the idea that is
It was
somehow
infantilizing.
worse.
It made them look like they were in kindergarten.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I
It didn't
think-
make them look like they were in a concentration camp.
Yeah.
I think they're also like there's something to be said about like the certificates or the gift bags or even like the keffiyeh.
Yeah.
But I think it's also like the reason why they're doing that is not to humiliate the Israelis, or at least it doesn't read as that to me. Where it's more so. I'm sure that plays a role in Israeli consciousness. Like it reads as that, so certainly that probably is a part of it. But I think it's also the fact that, like, it's the same reason as to why they come out of these tunnels like clean, very clearly dressed in their military gear that was kept neatly or at least washed right before, right? Like. I think there's almost a sense of pride to show whoever is watching from afar around the world. It's desperate, but to show whoever can even remotely pay attention to this that, like, in spite of everything, like, this is the dignity that we have offered the people that we have held in captivity. So
and of
much
course,
so that,
to an occupier like Israel, everything is humiliating. That's the point.
yeah,
They live their
they
life
didn't-
constantly reading humiliation into every single thing that they do. Like,
because it's a sense of like it's humiliating because of the sense of like ethnic superiority that they feel. That's what it is. These are barbaric savages. That's why October 7 is so traumatic. On top of everything else, on top of like the actual violence, it was also violence being conducted by an otherwise captive and servile population. Like, how dare they? How dare they strike back at us? Like, we are so superior. And what to talk about like whatever you do being read as like humiliating and messed up from the Israeli perspective also is the fact that initially I think they were doing the hostage releases without the theater of the theatrics of the big stage,
right?
Which, funnily enough, has a AI fist with 6 fingers on it. I don't know if you guys saw that. I thought it was funny. One of the fist that they have up on it has 6 fingers because they used AI, which is why I'm canceling Hamas. But that's a totally separate. There's Palestinian graphic designers out there.
There are. They're on Fiverr, and they could do it with the correct amount of fingers. What are we doing?
It's messed up that they
Hamas
use
is in the
AI.
pocket of big tech.
Yeah.
Hamas using AI like that is completely unacceptable. I think this is my red line. But yeah, they initially did not do the theater, the stage, right? And there was commotion, and then Israel got mad about the commotion. So then the next day, what did they do? They put the hostages on the stage, and then the hostages threw up the peace sign. Then Israel got really mad about the peace sign. So they went back to the regular process of handing it over to the Red Cross when there was commotion. And then Israel got mad at the commotion again. So they just keep going back and forth where like they are responsive to, at least to a certain degree, Israeli demands, no matter how ridiculous it is.
Yeah.
But, no matter what you do, like you said, Daniel, Israel is going to get mad anyway.
Yeah.
Well, to the omnipotent, right?
Yeah.
Any assertion
of agency
is
or of humanity in any sense or decision making
is a capital offense, and and when the Untermenschen won't stay unter, it's a thorn in the side of the powerful ones.
That's right. Well, Hasan, thank you for coming on and not being unter, but rather being uber. I assume that's the opposite.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you for coming on and being one of the most uber moral guests of Bad Hasbara. Where can people find you and find your work? It's a
and where can
stupid
people
question.
finally leave you alone about coming on this show? Because you just did it.
Yeah. Where do people watch you?
That'll be fine. People will still be annoying about it, but it's all good. So people can find me at twitch.tv/Hamasabi, where I'm live every day from 11 a.m. Pacific onwards until usually around 7 p.m. Pacific.
That's incredible.
And that's
How
it.
The fuck
I do that.
You do that?
Yeah, I am insane. I do that 7 days a week as well. So I'm even live on Sundays.
Like, this has been 2 hours and I'm so tired. How are you not tired?
I don't know. I got a lot of love for what I do. I'm a very fortunate person. I'm a very privileged person. I'm very lucky to have the opportunities I have. I never thought that I would get to this point in my career. So it never feels like it's real work, because it's not really.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing. You know, you do it for hours a day, and you work out, and you got a great body. And I just want you to just enjoy your body. You know, I want
Thank
you to
you.
take care of your body. It's very good. Look in the mirror. Just enjoy what you see. What do you eat? Is there
Chicken.
certain chicken? Just chicken?
I just eat a lot of chicken. Yeah, I eat like around a pound of chicken every day, straight white chicken breast every day.
A pound? But you have things on the side like rice, ketchup?
A little bit of rice. You know, it just depends on what I'm in the mood for. Sometimes it's Mediterranean chicken, so I have it like in a wrap.
Do you work out for more than 30 minutes?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I got to start working out. I might ask for tips at some point, because I feel like I feel like my face could be skinnier.
I got you. You got to play basketball. You're wasting your 6'7" frame. It's just disrespectful.
Listen,
I think
As a guy who's
disrespectful.
5'6", I'm glad to have nothing to waste, but I could use some tips on getting taller.
oh,
that
just keep,
might. You got to
keep
break your
going.
bones for that one.
Nah,
All right.
but just keep trying. That's what I say. You know, just keep getting back on that horse.
Oh, but speaking
or
of
pony.
athletics, I do want to shout out the Palestina football club from Chile who gifted me this this jersey that I've been wearing today.
Yeah, that rules.
They sent one for my brother too. I'll just show you the back.
Fuck
I
yeah.
haven't given to him yet.
Oh, it says Mate number 11.
That's sick.
That's so
dope.
sick.
And the ones are made
ones
out of
the country of Palestine.
yeah, contiguous free Palestine.
I love it.
So.
I love it. And they gave the Goal on Heights back, which I like. See, this is why we need to free Palestine. Well, Hasan, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you to everyone out there listening. Patreon.com/badhasbara, badhasbara@gmail.com. All right, everyone. Thanks again so much for listening. And until next time, from the river to the sea.
Hey, Jews fight back. If Hassan's an anti-Semite, then so are we.
Yeah. Wait,
Oh
what?
no.
Oh, no.
What?
Oh,
Wait,
no. Now I'm doubly indicted.
Funny.